When we were told that we were getting a free DLC for God of War Ragnarok, I was a little skeptical. Well, I wasn't skeptical, I just didn't know what to expect. On one hand, this was Santa Monica Studios, the creators of God of War. They knew how to make great games, and especially great God of War games. But on the other hand, this is PlayStation, and they're not necessarily known for making things free. Well, like many of you, I played it, and I actually really enjoy it. With it being this roguelike mode, I didn't expect much. I love roguelikes like Hades, but that style of play and a God of War game, you piqued my interest. The gameplay, the story, and the justice that they do to the roguelike genre, I'm really impressed. Hello world and all who inhabit it, it is I, the Great Sayran, and I am no stranger to the God of War series. I dropped a video about a year ago talking about my experience with God of War. I had always grown up with it because my older brother loved this franchise, but it wasn't until I was an adult where I was able to go back and play through all the games with PlayStation Plus Premium, and then I immediately dropped the service because it is a big waste of money. That's a topic for a whole other video. I don't want to spoil too much, but anything within the first 2 hours is free game. Speaking of hours, this DLC is apparently longer than the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 campaign, and if you remember, Christopher Judge made a little joke about that at this year's Game Awards. I love when a story comes full circle. One of my biggest turnoffs to God of War 2018 was the combat. I was used to this very specific style of hack and slash gameplay, and the fact that Kratos can jump just didn't make sense to me. Aerial combos were my favorite after all. Well, I of course got over that, and when you look at this DLC, this roguelike hack and slash action based mode, I got a whole different appreciation for the combat. It is hack and slash and even has some RPG elements that takes the combat to a whole nother level. One of the coolest things you can do with roguelikes is create a build. In each run, you can choose which specific attributes that you want to power up. And of course, in between your deaths, there are things you can permanently level up. Roguelikes have always been on the shorter side with a lot of replayability. They're a challenging and unique genre of game that I think everyone should try. With this God of War Ragnarok Valhalla DLC, more people will be exposed to this roguelike genre, like my friend Nug. So today we have Nug from Yo Nug Gaming, and we're going to talk about the God of War Ragnarok Valhalla DLC because he's also a Sony enjoyer, and I just want to get his thoughts on it.
Hello, man. Thank you for having me.
No problem, no problem. So yeah, man, you were actually asleep during the Game Awards until they announced the DLC.
I wasn't sleep per se, but I did have my issues with the Game Awards, yes.
Yeah. But they announced the DLC. You perked up, I perked up. I love God of War, so I don't know if you played all of them, but I played all the OG ones, and I actually have a video on my channel where I went through and played all the previous God of Wars because I couldn't get into 2018, but I want to play everything before Ragnarok came out. And I did. I went back and I had PS Premium and I went back and played everything. And then I played 2018 and then I understood. So I was even more hyped for Ragnarok. So for you, what's your history with the franchise?
I actually didn't play any of the OG games when I was a kid. So what I ended up doing was once I got God of War 2018, I played that. I loved it. And I was just very curious. So I went on YouTube and watched all of the history, everything leading up to the game so I can get caught up to speed.
Nice. So I had an older brother who was really big into God of War, still is. Huge Sony fan, huge God of War fan. He was the one who like played God of War in front of me. So I didn't get a chance to play all the way through them until recently, like by myself without my brother like hovering over me and like trying to take the PS2 controller from me. So
Yeah.
so 3 especially, I never got to touch his PS3 ever. So the fact that I got to play the God of War 3 on my own was special to me because I was like, my brother never let me do this. But I don't know how far you are into the DLC. How far are you into it?
I don't know. It's confusing. It's a roguelike, so I'm just going through doors. I'm not sure where I'm at.
Yeah, I think that's jarring for some people. Do you play roguelikes?
No, this is my first experience.
Really? Do you know play Hades?
No.
Really? Huh. Interesting. Yep. Okay. So that was a point someone made, is that this would probably bring a lot more people to the roguelike genre. Are you liking the format of I love roguelikes. Do you like the formula?
Kinda. It does get a tad bit repetitive if you're not super good at it. So that's kind of where I'm at currently. Like I'm not the best at God of War. I enjoy it, but I'm finding myself getting stuck and it's getting a little repetitive.
Yeah. So you do have to grind out roguelites a little bit. Roguelites are games that are like honestly like 5 to 6 hours once you do a complete playthrough, maybe like 7 on some longer ones. I think Hades was like 10, but I beat it in like 8. And so the formula, the fact that Sony stepped out of their bounds and did this formula was super interesting to me because I was like, I thought it was a mobile game. You heard me say, we streamed together. You heard me say, oh, it's a mobile game. I was like, oh, they dropped like it didn't occur to me that they would drop DLC. That's a whole different mode and it's tailored towards the roguelike community because that's so specific and niche almost.
It was a I would say it was a huge W and like a victory lap for Santa Monica. I think that they had no incentive really to, well, they didn't have to give us anything, and so the
Yeah.
fact that both of their games were pretty much perfect, and they decided to go out of their way to not only surprise us with the DLC but give it to us for free. I thought that was pretty awesome.
Let's go back to the fact that it is a roguelike, because I think that's an interesting angle that some people may not be comfortable with, especially with you not being like a roguelike player. So to me, the way the story is unwrapping is very interesting because that's typical roguelike format where you don't get the whole story. You kind of have to progressively fight for the story and fight into the story. So I like action games. I like button mashers. I like action RPGs. So the fact that you give me this like heavy action game that has this really detailed story. I didn't think we are gonna get that much story, to be honest. I literally said it's probably not gonna be that much story, but whatever you get is whatever you get. And like I said, I don't know how far you into it, so I'm not gonna spoil anything like I did earlier, but there were some cool story points that I think are super interesting.
The only thing that's confusing me, maybe I'm dying too much. I don't know how to see where I'm at in the story. I know I did go into Valhalla. I
Yeah.
did do of course your first death is like a big cut scene, and then you
Yes.
see Freya, and then there was another cut scene after you, I guess, beat a certain point to where you don't die but you still start over. Not sure
Is
what
that the
that
part?
means.
Did you get rescued? Is that part? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's like I saw I
Okay.
finished every all the fights, and then there was
Mhm.
like a throne, and then
Yeah.
they started us back over from the beginning, and we were like, we didn't die. Why do we start over back from the beginning? And
Yeah.
then that's where I'm at. So I'm not sure if I need to keep doing
You
fighting.
do.
I don't know.
Yes, that's cool. So the way roguelikes work is they give you the story, but they give you the story up until a point, and you have to like replay the levels a certain amount before they give you the story. Like in Hades, you had to basically play it like
Oh,
8 times before you got to the point where you understood what was going on. But if you beat the game like within 5 times, you could technically, but you were so over under level, it probably wasn't gonna happen. So at least like 15. I don't know how far God of War can go with it because I feel like it's a lot more story they want to tell than what they told in Hades.
not really a complaint, but another thing that kind of confused me is like the doors are never the same each time.
Yes. Mhm.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I like the game. I'm just a little bit confused, I guess is my overall take, but still a great production.
This is great. This is a great point too. So the doors are different because every door you go through gives you a different perk. So there's like a weapons perk
Oh,
or level up, or you can get permanent health, or you can get like regenerated your health. You can get more money to buy things. So it's like very choice sensitive because you're basically making a build every single time you play. So for me, when I streamed it last night, I said I'm gonna go with a brute force build. So anything that's gonna give me better weapons and more health, that's what I'm going for. And I went through that and I got pretty far. Well, I don't know how far is far, but I got far enough to where I got to a cool point. And I was like, okay, well, that's my build. And I was going with that build. But you can also go with a passive build where you have a lot of defensive vitality. And you have well, there's one thing that was like every time you block, you would poison an enemy, right? If they hit you while you were blocking.
mhm.
Like it's like those different things that they couldn't put in the main God of War game because that would have made the game too easy or whatever. But in this roguelike mode, they can do that. And they're giving you player choice to choose your build of your character of how you want Kratos to be.
Okay. Well, that gives me a lot more perspective because I was wondering what the difference in the doors was.
So one of the really cool things about this DLC is that it's free. And when we hear free, sometimes we think lazy or like
Mhm.
microtransactions, but no, they like dropped this free DLC that's full of a lot of different content. So what was your opinion on that, or what was your thoughts on that when you saw free at first, and what was your expectation going into the DLC?
When I saw free, I figured it was gonna be. I didn't think it was gonna be any microtransactions or be cheap or anything. Like I said, I trust Santa Monica. They do good work. My honest opinion was grateful. And then as far as it being a roguelike, I had no idea what to expect. I know there was a lot of discourse online, people saying it was cheap or things like that. But I feel like when it's free, you really shouldn't be as upset or worry about how much content.
When I did see free, the first thing I thought about was, oh, it's probably gonna be like super short or not in depth, or it's not gonna be like not like high quality, but like if we look at God of War Ragnarok was 25 hours for just the main stuff, I think. So I was like, oh, this is probably gonna be like 3 hours. This is like a free DLC, 3 hours. But I'm seeing some people clock 5, 6, 7 hours, longer than the Call of Duty campaign, apparently. Modern Warfare 3 campaign.
Oh man. I'm already 3 hours in and I don't even think I've gotten to the first boss fight. So I always feel like the hours a game takes is so subjective depending
Yeah.
on how fast you play. I think sometimes in the industry we'll like as gamers or people who do this stuff for a living will like really speed run something and like, oh, it took this many hours. Like people said that example Spider-Man 3 was what they say 20 hours, right?
Yeah, Spider-Man.
20,
Yeah,
20 hours.
yeah,
I spent 40 hours to 100% the entire game. So it wasn't a 20-hour game for me. So I always
yeah.
think that's always subjective. So this God of War DLC, like you said, is 5 hours for those who are really fast at it. But someone like me who's a little bit slower, you would get 10 easily.
Yeah, I don't know what difficulty you're playing on, but I'm playing on third hardest. It's like a step below normal because I think they added more difficulties. So I didn't play at the hardest because I'm never that person. But if I wanted to, I can go. There's replayability in the DLC too. You can go back and just bing bang boom replay, at a hard difficulty and see how far you get or see how entertaining that is for you. Because there's sometimes with this difficulty, like I was fighting, the boss that has like the armor and you have to like chip away the armor if you can do real damage. Like he doesn't stun at all.
Yes.
I was fighting one of those guys. I hate those guys. I was fighting one of those guys and he just stood there for like a combo and a half. And I was like, all right, maybe I need to bump the difficulty up because I don't like that. So for you being a first time rogueliker, would you say, all right, once I finish this, I'm done because I got the story? Or would you say, I like the action, like the combat, I might go back into it?
That's one of the things I'm kind of teetering with. I'll probably go back to this, especially on the PS Portal, just because it's one of those games I can kind of mindlessly play and just kind of hack and slash and go on for maybe about an hour or two and then kind of chill.
Yeah, man. Any what are your overall thoughts, first impressions of it, and then we'll close out from there.
Overall thoughts, great DLC, great time. I think if you're somebody who's new to roguelikes like myself, this is a perfect entry with a familiar game that kind of ease your way into it and you can kind of see maybe, do I want to continue down this path of roguelikes or do I want to just kind of stay here? But all in all, it's free, you can't go wrong, and I recommend it highly.
Once again, big shout out to Nug. I'm so glad that he's having an amazing time with this game. At the end of the day, God of War Ragnarok Valhalla is a free DLC, and I don't think we have that much room to complain. The combat is rich with a lot of replayability. The story accents Kratos' past, something that I've been wanting the games to do more and more. And with the various build options and difficulty settings, you can play this game over and over again. I can't believe someone told me this was gonna be lazy DLC. If you're looking for more God of War videos like this one, check out my video where I played every single God of War. Also be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.